Your art is done. For Allen Ginsberg. Here in Santa Barbara, evening fog obscured the last few days of Hale Bop. Small stresses of the day grew more intense and more absurd and made me act more generous in public. The fall of Easter eventually confirmed the spring we had suspected to have been here all along. It was midweek I heard that you were sick. Now you are a fleeting headline in the local Sunday news. Would you have rather been a locomotive? You would still be sweating unrhymed words, drifting into lines and spreading onto pages of entire books. Would you have us all believe you'd grab a comet by the tail? You'd know the stripes. You'd recognize that tiger burning bright. The snowball's cloud has burst, and now we listen to the hiss. We have been kissed, but now must sleep alone. For fear of sleep, we're up all night, composing lines on you. What would you have done? Who simply wished a bit more time? Who clawed about for signs of life and came upon the beast itself? Who'd say anything, and often did. Who, I bet, would not admit it if you asked him. Who came from New Jersey, and so had a heart. Who died 3 deaths in his last week. Who just needed sleep after all those phone calls. Who finally will see that it was just a sunflower all along. Who reminded us of Uncle Walt. Who might have been our last committed super communist. Who made $1 million with his words. Who got so caught up in the truth he barely had the time to write. Whose words were scrawled instead on an abandoned farmhouse wall where outside a snowstorm could foretell the doom, and it was cold. Who wouldn't know that farmhouse wall has since been torn down? Who, the last few years, always seemed to stare in 2 directions. Who cried when bullied by the rain, became a teardrop world envisioned and delighted by the setting of the setting sun. Who couldn't see the sun, but took up sunning anyway. Who tranced himself enough to dance the May Queen of Sabalba. Who, badgered into thinking we had nothing to connect us, sank into the ocean, leaving nothing to protect us but a list of words and phrases. I tried, but couldn't always get it right. But tried. Who learned he was a visionary Indian angel. Who couldn't help but worry that the night would one day vanish into night. Who, so sickened, soon retired to his bed, enlightening the corners of his room. Who so loved the world, returned to it eventually. Who could think of lilacs on a morning such as this? Should we be more emotional because one more ash drops from a filtered cigarette? And what will happen now? All of us are up all night. Ferlinghetti's up all night with Allen Ginsberg dying. Allen Ginsberg was a boy who never saw it coming. Allen Ginsberg couldn't sleep, but sleep sure could. Allen Ginsberg couldn't sleep, but now he must. Allen Ginsberg, you have left us all awake instead. Keck's Garden's irises go brown, but others are surrounding us. Even crows are silent.